Hey guys, Mars Thinking here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so the other day with the V-Jump leak, we learned that the EZAs that we're getting for this year's Heroes Celebration are not what we originally expected. So when I made the video talking about what I would like to see from the upcoming EZAs, I explained at the beginning of that video that the reason we thought it was going to be that particular batch of units because it was based on the release date of their SSRs, and some of them awakened after units who came out and got an awakening straight away, so we thought those ones were going to be left behind. But the thing is, now that I think about it afterwards, it obviously makes more sense for the units to get EZAs first who awakened first, because obviously their TUR form is technically older. So it does make sense for them to EZA in that order. So the units that are not going to be getting EZAs, as far as we know, is the Dark Mask King and Black Mask Saiyan, the Physical Demon Demigra, STR Super Mirror, and there's one other one that I'm forgetting off the top of my head that we thought was going to get an EZA. Can I see them here quickly to jog my memory? I cannot. I'm sure I'll remember after I've recorded this and be really annoyed. But we are still getting Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku, Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, and Supreme Kai of Time, which is good. I really wanted the Super Saiyan 3 Goku. I still think he could be the best EZA TUR after his EZA, and Supreme Kai of Time is going to be really good as well. Still cautious about Vegeta. Hopefully they'll make him good, but he really lacks defense. If you want to see my thoughts on their potential EZAs, go check out that other video. But it means we have 5 other units to talk about now, because these are the ones that are actually getting an EZA. So I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on what I would like to see. As I said in the previous video, obviously I don't want to make silly busted concepts where every single unit is greatly stacking attack and defense. I do think some units would obviously do with that mechanic, right? But not every single unit is going to have that. So I want to try and be a little bit realistic with my expectations based on what the unit does already. So first up, we have our boy Super Fu. So this guy I think has the potential to be very interesting. He's got a Dragon Ball Heroes leader skill. We don't know what the leader skills to the new units are going to be. I can't imagine this will go higher than 150, although obviously if it was 170, that would be super useful for a lot of people. But the leader skill is probably not important, obviously, considering all the new units and the better leader skills that we are hopefully going to get. His super attack is that he raises attack and defense for 1 turn. He does immense damage to the enemy and seals super attacks. And then his passive is attack and defense 150 when performing a super. Key 1 up to 4 and chance to dodge 10% up to 40 per time traveler's ally on the team. So he's one of those units, he gets all of his attack and defense on super. I don't really mind units like that, right? It means that you either can't put him in slot 1 or you just have to hope for the best with the dodges, right? And I don't mind if they don't change that. Obviously, if they did give him some start of turn attack and defense, that would obviously be beneficial for those times that you do have to put him in slot 1. But I'm not too fussed if they don't. They could give him 50% at start of turn and then leave that as 150, or they could just give him 200 on super and that would be fine. And then the key, obviously that helps him out for teams where he's not going to link up super well with a lot of other units. They could increase that to 5 or even 6, which would be really good because it means he's going to auto super, and obviously changing the restriction from time travelers. I do like that he is time travelers and not just heroes, because it does allow you to use him on other teams. Most of the heroes units are on time travelers, although there's a couple that aren't. So maybe changing it to well, not even changing it necessarily, but adding, if they made it time travelers or crossover, just to add in those extra heroes units that aren't on time travelers, and also just the extra crossover units, right? But if they leave it as time travelers, I don't think that's the worst restriction, right? It's not as bad as it being just straight up heroes or crossover. So they could increase the key to 5 or 6 and then increase the dodge chance. They either increase it per ally and the total. It'd be good if it was 15% up to 60 or even up to 70 if they really want to go that far. That would be pretty awesome. I mean, we have enough units in the game. If banner unit Chilai can be supporting and have a scouter and have 70% chance to dodge, then I think, Fu with his EZA could have a 70% chance to dodge as his maximum, because it is still reliant on allies on the team, whereas Chilai's is just free. So they could easily make it 15 or 20% up to 70, which I think would be cool. And then, just by doing that, I think this guy would be good, right? Gets all his stats on super. With support, because he's getting it on super, those numbers are obviously going to be bigger. I mean, if they really want him to be effective, they could do greatly raise attack and defense for 1 turn, and then he'd be looking very, very good. Because his main role, I guess, is to be defensive with that dodge, and then he is going to be able to hit hard and have reasonable defense after super. So this guy has a pretty good base kit already. I mean, if you're lucky enough with the dodges, he's still usable. It's just the fact that if you don't dodge, his stats aren't that great anymore. But his EZA definitely could be very solid. So next up, we have the physical Cumber. Now, this one is an interesting one because at the moment, he does very much feel like he's just like a Super Battle Road unit. And I kind of had that feeling when he came out anyway. And now that difficult content has evolved the way that it has, especially with not being able to stun certain bosses and stuff like that, it'll be interesting to see what they do with this guy, because he does immense damage and greatly lowers attack and defense, which obviously is useful for Super Battle Road. And then he gets some key, he has attack and defense 150, and then he has a high chance to stun super class enemies after he receives an attack. So obviously in Super Battle Road, that is really, really good, right? He has to take a hit first, but if the RNG is on your side, especially in certain stages where all the enemies are super, then the entire rotation is stunned. Now, it's only for that duration of that turn, but that can still be an incredibly powerful mechanic. So I definitely think this guy has a lot of potential. He's on teams like, obviously, Pure Saiyans, Super Saiyans, Giant 8 Power, so like, I think all of those, well, some of them don't have their ESBR stages yet, especially on Global, but he definitely could be useful for some of those. It'd be pretty crazy if he could stun any type of enemy after receiving an attack, but I feel like they're going to keep that as the super types. I don't know if they would change it from high chance either, because it is a very powerful mechanic, but that would be pretty awesome to see that increase. But in terms of like whether he's actually going to be good against difficult bosses, obviously higher stats would be nice, and then some kind of super attack effect, whether it is for 1 turn or it is an infinite stack. Because he's a Super Battle Road unit, I don't know if he necessarily is a unit that I would give infinite stacking to. Although I suppose that is one thing that would make him more relevant in longer events, because in Super Battle Road he's already kind of got the tools that he needs, right, with the ability to stun, the ability to greatly lower attack, whereas if you give a unit infinite stacking, you don't really have enough time in Super Battle Road to make the most of that. So he's a unit, I guess, that could benefit from having something like that to make him better in things like the red zone and stuff like that. So they could make this guy an absolute beast. Just give him like key 3 and attack and defense 250%. With then EZA stats, he's going to be looking pretty good. Even then, like, I mean, he's not going to be tanking super attacks from red zone bosses or something. So because he wants to be hit to stun all the enemies, maybe give him like damage reduction when he's in slot 1 before he attacks or something like that. Build up damage reduction, or, you know, anything that makes it a little bit less dangerous to be letting him get hit in slot 1, I think would be super beneficial for this guy. And of course, he has a high chance to transform into a Great 8 when your HP is 50% or less. That condition seems fine. High chance they could increase it. The HP they could increase or lower. That's fine. But when it comes to the Giant 8 form, this is the kind of thing that they obviously need to do a lot of work with, because the Giant 8 form, while it allows you to take no damage for 1 turn, they are pretty weak in terms of overall damage output. So he does give himself key, which is good. We can bump that up to 3. And then when it comes to the attack, some of the newer units like Cell's Rage Mode, they have things like massively raise attack temporarily and then does like guaranteed crits. I think something like that would be pretty good for this guy. So I definitely think he has the opportunity to be a very, very strong Super Battle Road unit. I think it's just a case of, depending what they do with his EZA, it's very possible that he just becomes even better in Super Battle Road, but still not very good for like Red Zone and stuff like that. But I guess we will have to wait and see. So next up we have this guy who I'm really interested in, because the guy who designed his original kit, I don't know if he was like drunk, or I don't know if he got fired after this, quite rightly so, but this guy's design is incredibly weird from when he first released, because he is a counter unit. So he does immense damage to the enemy. He raised superclass allies attack by 25% for 1 turn. So characters that have that kind of super attack effect, obviously it's more beneficial for them if they're in slot 1. And then he gets all of his attack and defense, and then he gets crit chance based on time traveler allies. So obviously that locks him to a certain team build, because You know, if you only got one other time traveler ally on the team, it means he literally only has like 34% attack and defense, which basically unusable, right? And then unfortunately, after he takes the first hit, he loses 30% of his defense. So I do not understand why you would give a unit that has counters, because he counters normal attacks with tremendous power. So why you would give a unit whose sole purpose is to be put in front of a bunch of attacks so that he can get counters, why you would make him lose defense when he gets hit for the first time. I have never understood the logic behind this design. So obviously this needs to be changed. Just scrap off that completely. In fact, they need to go the other way, and like he should build up defense with each hit that he gets, or attack, or both, because he's dishing out counters. Now obviously he raises allies attack on super, so maybe just raises defense or damage reduction or something. But he's another unit that would benefit from having damage reduction in slot 1, and just straight up damage reduction as well, not just like damage reduction against normal attacks, because then you're going to have the Vegito issue where you want him to counter, so you put him in front of a ton of attacks, and then he eats a super and can't tank those because he doesn't have just generalized damage reduction. Now, that's not the end of the world, right? Because that is the trade-off. You're getting counters against the normal attacks. You're dishing out a ton of free damage. So it is fair if those units aren't then super good at tanking super attacks. But it's just the fact that with this guy's original design, he's just not good at tanking anything, which is obviously just bad design for a unit that wants to be getting hit. So his links are not the best as well, so extra key would be nice. He is a hybrid Saiyan, because for those of you who don't know, Great Saiyaman 3 is Trunks, or maybe the sword was the giveaway, but it is actually Trunks. That's why he's on Hybrid Saiyans and Vegeta family. He's on Bond of Parent and Child, he's on Defenders of Justice, so he's on some good teams. I think they need to just increase they could give him some base attack and defense, and then give him extra per time travelers, or and then something else, right? Vegeta family or Hybrid Saiyan or Defenders of Justice. Bond of Parent and Child would actually be the best, because obviously that is a very strong category with a lot of really good units. So imagine if it was Time Travelers or Bond of Parent and Child, and then he would fit really well onto a ton of teams. So I think this guy has a lot of potential to be really, really good. They just need to get rid of this horrible, like, losing defense after he gets hit. That's just such terrible design for this unit. But hopefully, if they do him right, this guy could be really good. We haven't had a good counter unit for a while, so definitely looking forward to that. And then we have this guy right here, Silas. So this is one of the units that I think I'm actually the most excited for. I really liked this guy when he first came out. I think he has a cool design. I think he has cool super attack animations. Now, he's another unit that gets basically all of his stats on super. He does immense damage, greatly lowers defense, and then he gets attack and defense 100% when performing a super. He gives artificial life forms allies key 1 and attack 20%, and time travelers allies key 1 and attack 20%, and then he transforms from the 5th turn. So obviously, again, like we were talking about with Fu, they could give him some start of turn stats and then just bump up the attack and defense when performing a super. I think him getting like a stacking, even if it was just attack, right, as long as his kit gives him enough defense, I think him having some kind of attack stacking would be really cool. Because this feels like a unit that with the right EZA, he could just be putting out a lot of power, which I think would be quite cool for the character. So, like, this guy's the one that is kind of like a blank slate, right? Because he just has stats on super, and then he gives a bit of support. So we could bump the support up to 2 key, and then like attack and defense 20%, or maybe leave it 1 key, right? Because I don't think there's many support units that give 4 key as opposed to like 3. So keep it 1 key and attack and defense 20%, because then for artificial life forms who are also time travelers, like cell units and stuff like that, he's giving 2 key and 40% attack and defense, which I think is pretty cool. And then once he fuses into the fused Silas, where he absorbs arms, another very cool design here, he gets 3 key and attack and defense 60%, and then attack and defense 120 when performing a super. So he loses the support passive, but he gives himself a bit of key. He does have some start of turn attack and defense, and then he gets a bigger buff when performing a super. Now, he's not one of those units that you can choose to transform or not. So obviously I wouldn't want to give him the system where he stacks in base and then changes when he transforms, because you can't control it, so you don't get, you know, essentially a lot of turns to get that stacking in. So I think whatever super attack effect that he gets should transfer over to the transformed state, unless it's something like in his base form they could give him raises attack and defense for 1 turn, and then when he transforms make it greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn. And then just make him a full-on monster, right? Because when he's transformed, he's not giving any support or anything like that. So imagine if this was like key 3, attack and defense 100%, and then attack and defense 150 when performing a super, and he has greatly raises attack and defense on super attack. Now, I know a lot of people will complain nowadays, especially with EZAs and like new units, people don't like it when their only defense is like raw stats and they don't have damage reduction or guard or anything like that. Obviously, not every single unit can have that. And so this guy feels like the kind of unit that we want to just be a really heavy, like, hard hitter. So his defense would just be raw stats, but it would obviously be quite high defense, and then I think he would be in a pretty good spot. I mean, hell, if they want to throw in, like, guard or something, imagine if they gave Great Saiyaman 3, just, like, guard, just unconditional guard, and then they get rid of this. That would be great. But any of these units could obviously get something like that. But I do think Silas is going to be very good. He's a good link partner with Meki Kabura, so whilst we have been robbed of the EZA for the physical demon Demigra, who was going to be one of his best link partners, we have the EZA for this guy instead, and he does at least share big bad bosses with him. Because that's another thing you have to remember, these units that have big bad bosses, even if the stats in their kit seem a little bit low, with the link level update, it means they're going to be getting 25% attack and defense, like, at all times, as long as you're running them with the right link partner, right? So this guy could be super good. And then last but not least, we have Golden Cooler. We talked about him a little while ago. I did a 200% showcase video for him, because obviously he is on the Metal Cooler 200% team. The number one thing they need to change is the fact that he gets his extra buffs and therefore is at his full potential when there are another 3 or more heroes allies on the same team. Now, there are no other Heroes Wicked Bloodline units. This year, obviously, we are getting Metal Cooler, Golden Metal Cooler, but that's not enough. So, to make this guy really good and actually make him usable and runnable on your other teams, they need to change this to Dragon Ball Heroes or Wicked Bloodline. And then, boom, that's one of his biggest problems, like, solved straight away, because then you can just run him on the Wicked Bloodline team, and then he's going to be really, really good. So, he infinitely stacks attack. So because he does infinitely stack already, he's a unit that I think you could say you could just give him infinite stacking for both, and I think that would be fine. Up this a little bit at the start of turn attack and defense. Then he gives all allies key and attack and defense, so this might as well go up to at least 3 key and 30% attack and defense. Obviously 40 would be nice as well. And then he gets additional attack and defense and launches an additional attack that has a medium chance to become a super with the ally restriction. So this can obviously go up to like at least 50% and then launches an additional attack that has a high or great chance of becoming a super, would be the way I would upgrade this. And then this guy, by adding that difference here to making it Wicked Bloodline, as like with the EZA stats and everything, he would essentially become pretty much like a must-run support unit on the Metal Cooler team, the actual full Wicked Bloodline team. So then he would be really, really good. So a lot of these units, a lot of their usability is kind of going to revolve around whether they fix this issue with like the units that they're required to be run with. But as long as they do that, I have a feeling that all of these EZAs could be pretty good. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Which of these are you most looking forward to? What would you like to see from their EZAs? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. Very hyped for Heroes. Obviously the 12 days of Heroes thing that I was doing is kind of kaput now, because we found out the banners are actually coming out way earlier. So I'll still be putting up a Heroes video every day until the celebration comes out, because, you know, still super hyped, still trying to keep that hype train going, but we are even closer than I suspected, so I am getting very, very excited. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.